Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to do a little lesson with a little presentation that I have for you about living things and the way they eat and the different things that they eat. Okay? So I'm going to ask you some questions throughout. I want you to think about these questions, or you can tell someone who's there with you, mom or dad, or someone in your family. And if no one's sitting there right with you, you can just shout the answers right out to me on the screen. Okay? First page says, all living things eat and drink, but they eat different things and they eat in different ways. Think about you and your mom and your dad and your friends. You don't all like to eat the same things. Some people might like pizza, other people might like broccoli or carrots or Brussels sprouts, and other people might say, oh, I don't like those things. Okay, but usually people eat in the same way, through their mouth, with their hands. Let's take a look at some different animals and plants and see what they eat and how they eat. Okay, take a look at our first animal. Looks like a chimpanzee or an orangutan. Okay, and what are they eating? I see watermelon. I like to eat watermelon too. And it looks like they're eating with their hands and their mouth, just like I would eat watermelon slices. Now take a look at this turtle. Does he have hands to pick up his food, or does he eat it in a different way? I see he's eating a strawberry. I like to eat strawberries, but I usually pick them up with my hands. I don't eat it with my mouth. And he looks like he's eating the stem of the plant too. I don't like to do that. Ooh, take a look at this elephant. What is he eating? And how is he eating it? I know I eat bananas too, but I don't eat them with a trunk. He has a long trunk that's picking them up, and then his mouth is right underneath his trunk. Do you think that elephant peels his bananas like you or I would? Or do you think he eats them whole? Oh, and look at that little chipmunk. Take a look at what he's eating. He looks like he's eating some nuts, and he has them in his hands. But the special thing about chipmunks is, do you see those big cheeks of theirs? Sometimes they eat food and they store that food. That means they hold it in their cheeks. I know when I eat food, I swallow it. I don't hold it in my cheeks like a chipmunk does. Oh, and look at that sheep. What is the sheep eating? I see some dried grass and plants. That's called hay. Hay is when they have grass or plants that are dried out, and that's something that a sheep likes to eat. Take a look at the mama bird and these baby birds. What are they eating? Does that look like a delicious meal for you? Doesn't look delicious to me, but that's what they like to eat. And do you see how the mama bird got that bug and she's feeding it to her baby birds with her mouth? Oh, and this is the animal that we've been learning about all week this week, that ladybug. Do you remember what it is that those ladybugs are eating? What are those tiny bugs called? If you remember from our stories, they're called aphids. And this ladybug looks like it's picking up those aphids with its front legs and putting them right into its mouth. Do you think that this kind of animal cooks its food before it eats it? I don't think so. Oh, look at this guy. He's got some big teeth. This is a shark. Do you see what's hanging out of that shark's mouth? What do you think that is? I think that is part of another fish or ocean creature that it's eating with its mouth. And then this fish, look what he's eating. You might like to eat fish too, just like he is, but you probably cook your food before you eat it. He does not. He just catches it and eats it. Oh, and I remember in science last week, we had a little experiment video of worms. Do you remember what this worm eats? Worms eat dirt. They actually swallow it and it goes right through the worm's body. Okay? And it takes all the nutrients, that's good things, minerals and nutrients that are in the soil. And then the rest gets pooped out the other end of the worm. And then, ooh, a plant. Now, this isn't an animal. This is a plant. And what they're showing you is close up those little root hairs on that plant. How do you think that, or what do you think the plant eats? How does a plant eat? Our next picture shows another part of a plant. The plants actually eat nutrients or things that are good for them in the soil or the dirt. And a plant actually eats and drinks using its roots. Those are those white stringy things that you see hanging down into the dirt. And this dirt looks like somebody dug it away so that we could see those roots. Usually we don't get to see the plant's roots because they're underneath the soil. That's why when you water a plant, you put the water in the soil and then it goes up through the roots. That's how a plant drinks. But a plant also makes its own food inside of its leaves. Did you know that? A plant almost has like a little kitchen inside of it where it can make its own food. We have to go and we have to get food to eat. A plant, as long as it has water and nutrients and sunlight, can make its own food. And that's called photosynthesis. Can you say that big word? Photosynthesis. That's what a plant does inside of its leaves to make food for the plant. And I'm going to attach a little video link on this page so that you can learn a little bit more about photosynthesis, or a plant making its own food. Now here is a really cool type of plant. Do you see that there's that little, it looks like a little millipede or some type of little bug sitting on what looks like a leaf? Did you know that this is a kind of a plant, and there's only a couple different kinds of plants that actually eats bugs? This plant is called a Venus flytrap. See how those two leaves are open and that bug is inside? Once there's a bug inside, the plant actually closes those two leaves around it and traps the bug inside. And they actually eat bugs. This is one of the only a couple plants that eats bugs. We're going to see another plant that does the same type of thing on the next slide. This plant is called a pitcher plant. And just like the Venus flytrap, it is a very special kind of a plant that eats bugs. See how that ant crawled up the side and is in that big tube? Well, the top of it, that little leaf, will close up and trap that ant in there. and the plant can actually eat that bug. So did you know there are kinds of plants that eat bugs? That's crazy. There's not many, but the Venus flytrap and the pitcher plant are two plants that eat bugs. And that's the end of our slideshow. And again, all living things eat and drink, but they eat different things and they eat in different ways. Okay, now that we're finished, if you would like to in your journal, you can go and draw your favorite thing to eat. Or if you don't have time to do that, you can just tell someone in your family what your favorite thing is to eat. All right, bye-bye.